Hi, and welcome to another bonus episode of Talking About It. With the country reopening, we're going back to work, so this is going to be our last free bonus episode for a while because, well, we're going back to work. Enjoy this one, though. But still a reminder, for at least another couple months, we're going to have our $1 Discord access on our Patreon. Come join us over at Discord to talk about all things Tolkien and your reactions on episodes and such. We want to hear from you. See you there. So here is the second half of the Volsung Saga. To find out what happened before all of this, go check out our first bonus episode about the Volsung Saga. Here is the rest of the crazy, and it kind of starts exactly where we left off. So he dies, and Hajordis is...
That also happens a lot in Lord of the Rings. He dies.
That is true, yes. So Hajordis is forcefully taken by the son of the king of Denmark named Alf.
How's that spelled?
A-L-F. Yeah, it's all these crazy names, and then suddenly Alf.
Alf. Alf, like the cat-eating alien.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it's all these crazy names, and then just Alf. And so she gives birth to her unborn son, or sorry, well, of course, her unborn son. She gives birth to her son by Sigurd, who they name Sigmund. He is...
Wait. Killed by a cigar?
No, Sigar, who was killed.
Oh, okay.
Hajordis has his son, who she names Sigmund. And that's where and so that's the first part of this saga. The second part is all about Sigmund. So he is fostered and raised in Denmark by his tutor, Riggen, who is the youngest son of the King of Denmark.
Okay,
so he basically is raised in Denmark. He enters a forest one day and meets Odin. And Odin gives him the horse Grani, who is the son of the great steed Slefyr, who is ridden by Odin himself. And so this horse...
The horse with 8 legs.
Yes. And so Granny is like the best horse in the world. And so he comes back out of the forest with this great horse, and Riggen's like, you should totally go after a dragon and become rich now that you've got this awesome horse. So he goes after the dragon Fafnir.
Okay.
Yeah. So then we get background on Riggen. And he has a brother, Atur, who was an otter-like fisherman who had the ability to turn into an otter. So while he was fishing as an otter, Odin, Loki, and Honir, all gods, are also fishing. They catch Atur as an otter. Hate this name. It's so hard to say. And they eat him and skin him alive. So obviously the King of Denmark, his father, is pissed off.
Uh-huh.
He's like, no, guys, this is not okay. I don't care that you're gods. Fill his skin with gold equal to his weight and give it to me.
So, did all this happen before or after Hamlet?
Well before.
Okay.
But seeing as this is like a normal Denmark thing, Hamlet seems relatively tame now.
Yes, very tame.
Compared to this.
It's like, oh, it's just one murder. And one revenge.
Right. Compared
and
to
one
all
ghost.
this. And again, this is only the second part. Well, I'm only talking about the first 2 parts. But yeah, so his father, King Hadumar, demands gold as payment. So Loki takes it from the dwarf Anvari. Anvari's like, sure, here, go ahead and take this gold, except for this ring. This ring I want to keep because it's powerful.
Right. But also we need to, maybe later on, talk about how the Scandinavian dwarves aren't what we think of as dwarves from other parts of the world and from
Tolkien himself.
Tolkien himself.
Yeah, we should.
But that will be another episode.
Yeah. So don't think of this as a regular dwarf. This is a Scandinavian dwarf. It's very different. But
Yeah, because they have blue eyes and blonde hair.
So Loki
Actually, they're black.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Loki takes all of the gold, and Andvari's kind of pissed. So he curses the ring and Varant, and he says it will bring death to all who own it. And that's what we're not at the third part of the story yet, but the third part of the story is basically all about the ring. And most scholars consider it its own separate saga and kind of a sequel saga that they call the Adverin saga. So that's what that third part is. And it's like 3 times longer than the first 2 parts combined. But anyway, to finish off the second part, Fafnir, Regan's older brother, ends up killing his father and taking all his treasure, including the ring. Regan, who is a skilled smith, ends up working for Fafnir, the new king. And Regan, as a smith, makes 2 swords for Sigurd, and they keep breaking. But then his mom gives him the shards of the sword, and it's reforged into the sword Graham, and it splits the anvil in 2. So it's this great, awesome sword reforged from these shards, and Sigurd promises to kill Fafnir after he avenges his family. So he goes to the soothsayer, Gripir, who kind of hesitates to tell him the future and only tells him a little bit, but he's like, look, you got to avenge your family before you kill Fafnir. And he's like, sure. So he successfully avenges his family and retakes Hanaland, and that's a whole nother, like, adventure. And then Sigurd's like, okay, time to kill Fafnir. And Odin comes up and gives him some advice on how to do it. And he's like, cool, awesome, thanks. So, Sigmund Wait, sorry, I got lost. It's crazy. Okay, so Sigurd, with advice from Odin, is able to kill Fafnir. Before he dies, Fafnir claims that his gold and Regan will be the cause of Sigurd's death. So Sigurd, naturally, decides to cook Fafnir's heart and eat it.
Lovely.
With this, he gains the ability to speak to birds.
Because that makes sense.
It makes so much sense, right? So he overhears some birds talking, and they're like, yeah, Regan's gonna kill him and then take all of his treasure and then become king of both lands. And so he kills Regan first and then takes as much treasure as he can carry and flees. And then, of course, he meets a woman. Mm-hmm. He meets this woman warrior who has a sleeping curse. And she was placed under this curse by Odin. And because she has to get married, but she will marry no man who has fear. So, of course, this dude who has no fear and is the heir of Volsung, they get married, they kind of have a kid, but they also don't get married, and things happen, and he becomes, like, real foolish over a couple women, and they all die.
Okay.
Very, very Denmark. They all die, and that's the end of the Volsung line.
Yay!
The rest of the story is part 3, where it's basically Sigurd's friend who inherits the ring and goes on adventures. But like I said, we're not going to get into that because this is already really long.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the saga. Before I talk a little bit about the themes and such, what did you think of the crazy?
Well, I mean, it's the crazy. It's them trying to equate why this person knows that person and this person is from here but went there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of that type of myth telling.
Well, it's interesting you say that because Tolkien himself called it a jumble of things. Like, that's his exact words. In a letter, he just called it a jumble of things.
Exactly. Yeah, because you start having to figure out what happened first because it's not written.
It is not linear.
Yeah, it's not written
linear. It is
linear.
not written linear at all. You meet these characters and then you get a background on them.
Yeah, it's like, here we go. Da 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 da. This guy kills this guy. Da 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 da. Oh, by the way, the guy that got killed. Da 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 da.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So like the main theme in this is Odin. Like he's kind of the main player. I mean, there's really no moral of this story except Odin does what he wants. Like, honestly, that's really the only moral of the story because he's there both assisting and hindering at important moments. He is depicted as this old hooded man with one eye who is steeped in the supernatural and magic.
Ooh.
But he helps the Volsung some, but if they're about to do something that goes against a promise he already made someone else, he'll hinder them. Like when he breaks Sigmund's sword in the battle, which causes the tide of the battle to change and leads to his death, as well as putting the sleeping curse on the woman that his son eventually marries. So, yeah. And then the rest of it is all about the cursed ring. And, gee, I wonder if that could be something.
The cursed ring? So Wagner actually wrote a whole cycle of operas about that part.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 4 operas written about the part of the story that we're not talking about. That's how long and detailed the third part is.
In the first two parts, even though it was long, I really gave like the quickest summary I possibly could. The third part is so much longer than I could possibly even try. I started to read it and I'm like, no, I can't. And that's got to be another day. But like I said, Tolkien directly talks about this. And then he actually wrote a series of poems about the saga itself titled The Legend of Sigurd and Gudrun. Gudrun is the friend that ends up with the ring, which I think is a much better title because a majority of the story is about Sigurd, not necessarily the Volsung. But Tolkien gives a lot more backstory to the Volsung from his own research and such. So, yeah, Tolkien even rewrote parts of it in his own way and translated it into English.
Right. So, want to mention that, to me, one of the best books about Norse mythology.
Mm-hmm.
It's called The Viking Spirit.
Okay.
And it's by Daniel McCoy.
Okay.
It's detailed, yet not boring.
Okay.
And not tedious.
Does it talk about the Volsungs?
It talks about, I don't remember if it talks about the Volsungs, but it's a good book to get a good foundation of the Norse myths, especially because what most of us know about the Norse myths are what we got from Marvel Comics.
Yes.
Okay. Or what we got from other cartoons and TV shows and so forth.
Right.
So this would give you a good background on some of that.
Actually, a book I'm reading, Myths Across the World, it has multiple myths from lots of different cultures. I'm on the African section right now, but I was looking through the table of contents, and it even mentions the Volsungs in the Norse section, which I think is kind of funny.
You're supposed to be talking because you're recording.
I was waiting for you to react, but whatever. So yeah, what did you think of the information I gave you?
Well, I mean, some of it is related to what might have given Tolkien some inspiration. I mean, after all, that was his day job,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
You know,
Sorry, we're also slightly distracted by the cat playing right now.
Yeah.
He's adorable.
the cat is our assistant.
As
is,
usual.
is hunting something invisible.
No, I see his little mouse toy.
So, okay, well, that is it for now.
That was that bonus episode.
So,
If you have any thoughts about the craziness that I just relayed, talk to us about it on our social media and stuff.
okay, sounds good.
Talk to us, please. Oh, that is something I wanted to mention if you're still listening. I know we were ending it, but if you are still listening, we have a limited time $1 Discord join for our patrons.
Okay.
Because we realize that people really want to have interactions and socialization during this crazy time, which is why we're doing all these bonus episodes in the first place. So if you want to join our Discord, it's just $1. We have a patron already, and she's lonely, so come join her.
And it's just a bloomin' $1.
Exactly. All right. Well, this was a longer bonus episode than usual, so let's go ahead and wrap it up. I've been Evelyn.
And I've been slightly amused.
We're talking about it.